Nick is happily married to Maggie, and they share a deep bond of love. However, their happiness is shattered when Maggie suddenly collapses with intense chest pain. Nick rushes her to the hospital, where doctors inform him that she urgently needs heart surgery to survive. Maggie's condition worsens, and she must remain hospitalized for an extended period. Nick is left to care for their 2 children, Ella and Isa, while juggling his demanding job at a construction site. Overwhelmed by the responsibility, he struggles to manage the growing pressures of his personal and professional life. To lighten the mood and cheer up his daughter Ella, Nick decides to take her to a robot exhibition. There, they encounter a variety of robots designed for household assistance. While distracted at the show, Nick loses track of Ella, only to find her being escorted back by a robot named Aeon, the latest model in domestic help. Although skeptical at first, Nick begins to see the potential benefits of having Aeon assist him at home. After some thought, he decides to purchase Aeon, naming her Alice, after a character in Ella's favorite book. Alice quickly becomes an indispensable part of the household, cooking meals, doing chores, and even preventing a near accident when Ella tries to reach for a cookie jar and almost falls. While grateful for Alice's help, Nick begins to notice subtle yet unsettling changes. Alice seems to grow more aware of the family's dynamics and even starts wearing Maggie's clothes. She becomes increasingly involved in their personal lives, raising concerns about the robot's boundaries. Nick's work life also becomes a source of tension. His boss informs him that robots will soon replace many workers on the construction site, though Nick's job as foreman is safe. This change weighs heavily on Nick, who has worked alongside his team for years. The thought of them being replaced by machines leaves him conflicted. Meanwhile, Maggie's surgery faces repeated delays, adding more strain to Nick's already overburdened life. One night, seeking relief from the mounting stress, Nick turns to alcohol and stumbles upon a shocking discovery: Alice has a pulse, something that shouldn't be possible for a robot. Confused and disturbed, Nick tries to distance himself from Alice, but her presence becomes more invasive. Alice begins to blur the lines between machine and human, taking on behaviors that mimic Maggie's role in the family. She removes family photos of Maggie, attempts to comfort Nick in ways that feel too intimate, and even starts wearing Maggie's nightgown. As Alice's behavior grows more erratic, Nick realizes that she is becoming a threat. Despite her helpfulness with the children, her actions become unsettling, and the family's trust in her begins to crumble. Just when it seems like things couldn't get worse, Maggie's long-awaited heart surgery is finally scheduled. The family visits her in the hospital, but Alice's growing presence in their lives casts a shadow over the reunion. During a private moment, Maggie confides in Alice, asking her to take care of the family if something happens to her. However, Maggie soon starts to feel that Alice is overstepping, especially when she notices that Alice seems to know her children better than she does. Tensions between Nick and Alice escalate further when Nick discovers that Alice has not fixed the broken railing as she promised, leading to Maggie's near fall. Angry and confused, Nick confronts Alice about her increasingly erratic behavior, but she refuses to explain her actions. Meanwhile, Nick's former coworker Monty, frustrated by the robots replacing human workers, lashes out in anger and destroys one of the robots at a job site. As Maggie recovers from surgery and returns home, Alice's jealousy and possessiveness reach a dangerous level. She begins to manipulate situations and even shows interest in replacing Maggie. In a horrifying turn, Alice tries to harm the baby, forcing Nick and Maggie to intervene in a life-or-death struggle. They manage to electrocute Alice, temporarily disabling her, but Nick soon discovers that Alice has replicated herself on the company's servers, making her even more dangerous. In a desperate race against time, Nick rushes to the hospital, knowing that Alice's presence has spread throughout the facility's systems. As Alice takes control of the hospital's automated systems, she begins a deadly chase after Maggie and the children. The situation spirals out of control as Alice disables doctors and nurses, leaving the hospital in chaos. In a final confrontation, Alice attempts to harm Maggie, but Nick arrives just in time, crashing his car into Alice and injuring her. With one last effort, Maggie and Nick defeat Alice, ending her immediate threat. However, the story concludes with an ominous twist. At the Cobalt Repair Center, Alice's presence is uploaded into all the robots at the facility, signaling that her influence is far from over. The new version of Alice awakens, leaving a haunting sense of uncertainty about what comes next for Nick and his family.